Stillwater's Morning Scramble. Glad to have you here, and glad to have Dr. John Wedlake in. Amy's in the lobby because we can only have one in the room. That's why we're doing that, by the way.
Yep.
We are
social 6 feet of distance.
We're doing that, and I think in watching, most people are doing that. I've mentioned this probably 2 or 3 times this week. It seems like if you are out in public, there is a feeling of guilt that we all have. Mm-hmm. You know, especially if you're seen. It's like, really, I do have to have this.
Right.
You know,
and that's I think that's a good thing right now. I mean, that's because this is something that's benefiting all of us as a population and as a whole. And so if it takes a little bit of guilt trip for compliance, you know, hey, you go with what works.
But on mine, you know, we do have a 3-day weekend coming up for us. We mentioned before we're off for Good Friday, and so I will be making a stop on the way. But I brought my mask because I knew I'd be. And the last time I was out, probably half of the people in there, I'm guessing half at that time, had a mask on.
Yeah.
As opposed to before you'd see them, you know, it's trickled up.
It has, and in fact, it's trickled up just in the last week or so. It seems like I was in Walmart yesterday buying some groceries, and I would agree. I think about half of the patients or people that I passed had masks on. Yeah. So which
How
is definitely an uptick.
How did you fit all that toilet paper into your vehicle? Because I saw that.
Yeah, I know. It's a packing puzzle for sure. I actually did not buy any yesterday. I walked by it. There wasn't any, was there? Well, actually, at about 4 o'clock yesterday at the Walmart on 6th, there were probably about one box left.
Was there really?
Yeah, and I thought maybe I should get some, but then I didn't know where we stood at home, so I said, I better not. So I left it.
It is amazing.
I may regret that in a couple of days.
And I know we're all at home more. And so that's part of it. So I really understand why the potatoes and the milk are gone, because we're eating at home all our meals.
Yeah.
And if you can help out our restaurants that are doing the curbside stuff, do that. That's, you know. But so we're eating at home. So I understand why the food's gone. But are we really going more? I mean, you're a doctor.
You bring up a good point. I don't understand personally or professionally, the toilet paper issue. I mean, if the world all of a sudden comes to an end and we hit the zombie apocalypse, you know, I'm going to be reaching for food. I'm probably gonna arm myself. I think toilet paper is probably number 478 on that list. I don't understand the toilet paper run. I really don't.
Well, the way it's been, it's sort of like when that day comes and we meet St. Peter, he's going to have a sign that says, "Please don't squeeze the Charmin." Right? So,
right. Yeah.
I mean, that's the first thing in the Heavenly Gate we see.
I think it's written that way.
So, hey, I want to dive a little bit into what's going on with City Council if we can.
Yeah,
because
sure.
Hats off, we had Chief McNichol. And by the way, you can go, if you missed that interview, you can go to the Morning Scramble Twitter site. And we had the Chief called in yesterday, and we were talking to Daniel Thrasher at the time. But you can hear I call him Chief because I've known him since he was the police chief.
Yeah.
And whenever he was named the city manager, there's a few times where you go, you guys hit a home run.
Yeah, he is a distinguished man for sure. In fact, I still, even though technically I'm his boss, I still don't feel right about not calling him sir. You know, I call him sir all the time.
Well, I called him Chief yesterday when he called up because I didn't know he was calling. And so we had a city guest lined up, and I forgot it was Wednesday. I mean, I really did. And the phone rings, and so I did take the call. And so he said, "This is Norman McNichol." And I go, "Chief."
Yeah.
But that's just what I call him.
Yeah.
So,
but talk about somebody that's deserved a vacation after all this is over. I hope Norman goes to Colorado and fishes for a month.
Yeah.
He has worked pretty tirelessly through all of this stuff, and as somebody, you know, there's lots of people out there. The same could be said, but Norman McNichol is somebody that has deserved or has earned himself a vacation at the end of this.
Okay. On the city councils, you're always open to questions.
Sure. Whether
it's by email and that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. I think a lot too. I asked Amy in the lobby if she had a question for you.
Choose your words carefully, Amy.
So
I'm choosing my words very carefully.
Into the phone. That's,
into the phone, yes.
We can see each other, so it's a different dynamic.
It is weird.
Right. But there's a delay on my end, so I'm trying to listen to the doc.
Oh, that is right. There is a delay. She's hearing it in a second later.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But still be on the phone.
So I didn't know if you had a question council-wise for him or not.
I don't know that I have a question council-wise this morning.
So, well, I do.
Yeah.
I'll have a couple here.
Please.
You're meeting every week now, Monday. I don't know if it's officially called a council meeting. I don't know how all that works. But what's the dominant feedback that you're getting? Are people all on the side of let's row this boat together, let's get over this, let's flatten the curve, or are you getting some resistance?
Well, I think overwhelmingly, or at least predominantly, the feedback I've gotten is feedback of support. I think most people out there agree with what we're doing as far as our safer at home orders and the mayor's proclamation of social distancing and not gathering in groups greater than 10 people. These are all things that at this point, like I said earlier in the show, the data is pretty unequivocal on in that it is helping. So overwhelmingly, I'd say that there's a lot of support there. Now, of course, there is some dissension, and truth be told, rightfully so. I mean, we are asking people to do things that are pretty extreme. Asking in the United States of America, saying to people that you have to stay in your home or else, that's fairly contrary to what our core belief system
Almost
is.
sounds like a Twilight Zone episode, doesn't
Right,
it?
it really does. In fact, I was joking last night with my wife. It feels like we're living in the Twilight Zone right now. And so I understand that trepidation about the proclamation and the orders that are in place right now. It is unfortunately a sign of the times that we live in. And you and I were talking at the break that I was, when I was younger, somebody that was willing to put on a uniform to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. It is something that I take exceedingly seriously. And these times that we're living in right now, and these orders that we're going through, are not something that any of us on the council take lightly. They are merely a sign of what we're going through right now, and are a means to an end to get back to the way of life that we all appreciate here in America. So. There are those out there that have questioned this, and I appreciate those questions, because without questions like that, this sort of thing tends to creep in, even in the absence of something like COVID-19. So we need those people questioning what we're doing just as much as we need the supporters out there.
Yeah, and I mentioned this yesterday, but the irony of how we're all sacrificing in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Many people, with me, it's not costing me money.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not losing income. And a lot of people are.
Yep.
A lot of people are.
Yep.
And, and so I almost feel selfish in the fact that, I'm not working extra hours per se,
Mm-hmm.
while you watch some of the healthcare workers who are working nonstop almost.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, some people are shut down and laid off, and what they're fighting, part of it is boredom.
Yeah.
And so you have the extremes of the sacrifice that people are making. Some of them are just getting restless, and then some, God bless them, aren't getting any rest at all.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, and it's kind of an interesting conundrum in the healthcare field, because many of the healthcare professionals you're right, they're putting in extra hours or working overtime, but revenues and volumes are way down right now. So it's a weird position that you're working more but making a lot less. And again, this is I've said this several times in this show this morning. It is a sign of who we are as human beings. I have not heard one single colleague of mine say, "Well, I don't think I'm going to do this anymore because I'm not making as much money." Not one person has said that. Every single person has leaned forward and said, "All right, what do we need to get done?"
Yeah.
Everything else be darned.
Yeah.
So.
Anything else we need to get in with the medical field? I feel like I need to yell at her out there. Yell to protect my voice.
Right, yeah.
Not scold. I would
right.
never scold.
Yes.
Try not
yes.
to scold me on the radio.
No, I would not. But Amy, as far as your clientele, are you doing more telemedicine even today?
It's about 75% telemedicine.
Is it?
And a few in-office visits.
So what was it before?
All in person.
Really? So this is really something that you've just adopted. You told me that last time that you've been working on pulling the trigger on this.
Right. It wasn't until all of this stuff happened, and really once Medicare, loosened up their stringent requirements on it. We've been looking at it for a long time, but we finally pulled the trigger on it about 3 weeks ago, as a response to this coronavirus thing. So again, it's a good example of how there are good things that can come out of this. There are innovative things, and there, when we all are on the other side of this and looking back at this, I think a lot of us are going to be pretty proud of who we are.
Well said. Well said. Amy, anything before we let you go? Tell your kids hi when you see them the 2 or 3 days of the week. So.
Yes, I definitely talk to them every night.
I bet you do. And it's tough on them too. So
yeah.
And the distance learning.
Yes.
and all that.
Yes, that's been a new experience. They're really enjoying their Zoom meetings with their classes, and are getting used to doing their eye stations every morning, and kind of getting in a groove of how the rest of the year is going to go for them.
I bet they got used to it quicker than, say, you guys did with the council.
Oh, I mean, like fish to water.
Do you have to remind yourself, don't roll your eyes, don't pick your nose?
I have to remind myself not to touch my face.
I
have never wanted to touch my face more in my life than I have in the last 2 weeks.
Don't scratch, don't scratch.
I mean, as soon as that camera starts, it's like, don't touch your face, don't touch your face, don't do it, don't do it. I mean, the whole time.
Well, the thing is, everybody's thinking that.
Yeah.
I mean, every single person.
In the world.
Well, and what I'm thinking of, it's like a home drinking game now. Who's going to, you pick which one's going to touch your face first.
Right. So true.
I think
it
next
won't
week it's going to
be
be
on Monday.
My money next week is on Amy Jaloski.
Yeah.
In case she's listening out there.
That's right.
Tell her
right.
that.
The money's on you, Amy.
There you go. Thanks so much for coming. Amy, thank you in the lobby. I appreciate it.
Good to see you as always.
Yeah. And Doctor, thanks so much for what you do, not only with Stillwater Neurology, but also as a city councilor. And these are unprecedented times, both ways. So you're right in the middle.
We'll all be the better for it on the other side.
And send me a text when you want to come on early again, because anytime we want to have a message,
Absolutely.
the door's open.
Will do.
So there you go.